Hi, my name is van der Spey, and I develop Transverse under the name dvComp tools. In this video, I'll be showing you the basics of how Transverse works. We'll be doing a reverse design, a riser, some XY noise textures, and look at the construction of riffs and beats. Okay, so let's do a reverse design based on the initialized preset for Transverse, which sounds like this. Now, as you can hear, it doesn't have a very strong reverse characteristic at this point. It's because the envelope is linear. Let's change that by turning down the curve control. Let's alter the sound further by changing the noise selections. Maybe make some pitch changes as well. And then we can add some definition and frequency separation by using the filters. I'll keep this one on low pass. I'm going to try some band pass here, and let's have a listen. Now, because the sounds are generated by the instrument, you can change pitch without affecting your reverse duration. This is middle C. 1 octave higher, and 2 octaves lower. If you do want to change the length, you can select the sync note, and then use the count parameter to set the envelope to multiples of that note. In this case, 1 bar, and move count to 2 for a 2-bar reverse. And this will obviously sync perfectly with your host software. Okay, let's have a look at how sync to end works. This is on the custom page. The custom section has to be on, and this is only available for samples, not the granular synth. When you turn on the custom section, the layer selector for layer 1 is deactivated. So this layer now only deals with sample playback. You can select one of these preset samples, or you can drag and drop a sample onto the wave display. Okay, I'm just going to select this little section at the end. You might want to use a sample to add some character to the end of your reverse preset. Or maybe there's a sound you want to use from your current project in your preset for some sonic continuity. So let's reverse this and have a listen. Now you can hear the sync is correct, but the beginning was very blunt. You could hear a cut on the sample start. For that reason, the sync to end section has its own fade length and fade curve. Let's listen to that again. And there we go. Let's try that with another sample. Let's move the selection to a different area. I also want to try some reverb for depth and space. Now, while preserving length, let's try this on 3 different octaves. For the most part, doing a riser uses the same process as a reverse. So let's make some random noise selections. But for this one, we turn the curve parameter to the maximum for a quick attack. Now on the modulation page, on the LFO and envelope section, I'm going to change the pitch envelopes for each layer. It feels a bit short, so let's move that to 2 bars for now. Okay, now I'm going to add some filter LFO to the metallic layer. And maybe use the rate control to change the LFO speed. Okay, so let's perhaps make layer 3 a synth oscillator. I'd like to give that some rhythm by using the curves envelope. Just doing a short 8-segment section. Let's add some shapes to this. That one there, and maybe a small boost. And then I only want this for layer 3, the synth layer. So I'm turning the sends to the other layers to 0. And turn up the pitch parameter. Feels a bit short again, so let's turn that to 4 bars. Okay, I'd like to add some more rhythm to this, so LFO page, LFO 2, and then make some adjustments to the amp LFOs. And there you go, 4-bar riser. And again, if you want to change pitch, let's go down an octave. Okay, now let's look at ambient sidechain style noise, ambient textures for sound design, and pads. These use similar techniques, so I'm grouping them together. First of all, let's activate the ADSR envelope. This will give us control over the attack speed. At this point it's 0. Let's go to our custom section, turn it on, and load a preset. And then under synth waves, I'm going to choose white noise. Let's loop that. On the main page, let's turn off the analog noise source. Again, on the modulation page, same as before, we're going to use the LFO parameters to create our rhythms. To add some motion to our noise source, we're going to use the XY pad to control the filters. I have X1 selected, that's X-axis slot 1, and I'm going to select the filter. The main range can be set with the min and max parameters, and individual layer strength can be set with the layer controls. This can also be set to a negative value, which means that the parameter will move in the opposite direction of the XY control. This feature is only available for layer-based settings, such as pitch filter and level. Now for the first slot on the Y-axis, I'm going to use the master filter. And on the main page, I'll set that to high pass. Let's change the minimum value for this slot. As simple as that, you have an XY controlled noise profile for your beats in electronic genres. As far as textures are concerned, most of the parameters have already been covered, so I'll just show the necessary. We activate ADSR for fast attack. Then select a custom source. Set it to granular. Just do a small selection. Randomize. Now on the XY modulation page, I'll set the first slot to filter and the second slot to pitch. We just want subtle changes, so let's say 47 to 53. I'm just going to turn down the filters slightly. Let's make a few noise selections and pitch changes. Then on the y-axis, I'll tie slot 1 to the grain position. I'll add some reverb and delay for ambience. Here's a useful technique for breathing some new life into your old pad samples. Here is a pad loaded into the custom section. Let's have a listen. I'll turn off granular and make sure it's soloed. The setup is very similar to the one we had for the ambient texture, using the XY pad again, but on this one I have the grain position tied to the x-axis. So this means that we can sweep along the grain position using the XY controller. Now this pad sound is combined with a noise source and an oscillator source. Then on the mod page we have the filter controller, resonance controller and master filter controller, which is set to band reduction. All combined, it sounds like this. For the last section I'm going to look at bass riffs and beats, but seeing as most of the parameters have already been introduced, I won't be making them from scratch and rather just look at the construction of a few presets. Let's start with a preset called Bright Presence. On the main page we can see it has a custom source, oscillator and a noise source. And on the modulation page we have filter for the XY and the filter LFO, as well as delay send. Now the delay send allows you to add some ambience as the Y control moves, while the LFO will add some extra rhythm to the main riff. So let's make a few changes. Let's select a different custom source. let's try a different oscillator. And a different noise source. And then maybe make some changes to the filter values. Let's add some more delay and less LFO. We can randomize the curves envelope. And that's how you can easily modify a factory preset. This one's called Building Time. It has a similar setup to the previous preset. But in this case, the curves envelope is set up to create a kick drum sound for layer 3. With all layers activated. This preset is Jenga Crane, and it sounds like this. Now this one doesn't use XY modulation, but the curves envelope is used to control the playhead position of the granular synth. Let's solo that. You can follow the pattern on the envelope display. And again with all layers activated. So let's look at a few beats. This one's called Morse beat, and it sounds like this. Let's focus on the analog layer. Without the curves modulation, it is a very plain, straightforward oscillator, which sounds like this. So with the curves envelope controlling amp, filter and pitch, and then reset the strength, you get the kick drum effect. Now with all layers. This is the preset called Turnkey, and again we're working with grain position, but in this case it's controlled by the LFO, which leaves us free to use the curves envelope for a kick drum pattern. A gear riffs uses the same principle, just different sounds, and a faster LFO for quicker motion on the top end. But this covers the general usage of Transverse. If you'd like some more details, you can have a look at the user manual under the support section of the Steinberg website. Thanks for watching.